Hey everyone, want to talk a little bit about Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves and her U-turn. Now, I'm going to be quoting a report from the Daily Mirror, the 1st of February, by Lizzie Buchan, the deputy political editor. I'll just read this out and share my thoughts. Not very long, so bear with me. Labour will not reinstate a cap on bankers' bonuses, despite slamming the Tories for the same policy just 3 months ago. Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves said the cap was brought in after the global financial crisis, but that has gone and we don't have any intention of bringing that back. And as Chancellor of the Exchequer, I would want to be a champion of a successful and thriving financial services industry in the UK. In October, she slated the Tories for removing the cap, saying it tells you everything you need to know about them. Labour leader Keir Starmer previously said the removal of the cap was tone deaf. Now, I think this is a disgrace, and let me explain why. It just breeds into cynicism about politics. If Reeves had taken a consistent position, and she'd been in favour of this all along, she should have said so. Why the sudden U-turn? I mean, she says that the cap came in after the Great Recession. Well, the Great Recession was over 10 years ago. Yet she criticised the Tories only last year. So one can't help but feel this is just cynical politics. And, she's saying this now because we're in an election year. Labour continues leading in the polls, and I think that she's just pitching to the city. But I think a lot of people will be angry about this because it just reeks of hypocrisy. Now, Rachel Reeves isn't the first politician and will not be the last to do the infamous U-turn. And sometimes U-turns are unavoidable because maybe something drastic happens in the world of politics and politicians have to act on that. But this just looks cynical. It just looks like she's kind of looking at the polls and thinking, well, now it's safe to take this position. But it is sheer hypocrisy. Why is she suddenly why is she suddenly lurched to right and now is in favour of banker bonuses? I mean, I think I have to say this is the left-wing side of me coming out because I have a big problem with bonus culture in general. I think it's excessive and I think it's often corrupt. I mean, if you look at the post office scandal, Paula Venel's got, I don't know what the precise figure is, but it's an excessive amount in bonuses. I think she should be made to pay every penny of that in compensation to her victims, to the victims of the post office scandal. Not just her, other executives. But here's the problem. It just looks like pitching to the rich and powerful. Now, I'm not a socialist. I'm not anti-wealth. And I accept that in private sectors, bonus rates are paid out regarding the success, and it's an incentive to meet targets and so on. But I still think that there's something fundamentally off about bonus culture. It's true that we're not in a Great Recession at the moment, but I just think it stinks, her hypocrisy, to attack the Tories and claim that it says everything you need to know about them. Now, if this was a Tory position, it wouldn't surprise me. You expect the Tories to defend bankers' bonuses. That's just down their street. And if we look at Liz Truss's very brief premiership, it's one of the things that brought it down was the perception, rightly or wrongly, that she was pandering to the banking sector. Her and her Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng. But this is a Labour shadow Chancellor, and I think that I don't think Keir Starmer is going to move Labour as much to the right as Tony Blair did. I mean, the context of that time needs to be understood. Labour had to move to the centre. It had to move away from the militant tendencies. If we look at Labour in recent years, Jeremy Corbyn, under his leadership, there was clearly far left ideology going on there, and to be electable, Labour had to move away from that. So I don't begrudge Labour being in the centre left, but that's the point, centre left. I don't want to see Labour lurching to the right on issues like this. And I must admit, this is something that when I talk about myself as a centrist, it very much depends on the issue. Because if we were talking about crime, I'd want Labour to be to the right. But on economics, it makes me wonder, what's Reeves' position going to be regarding welfare? Is she going to start using the same language as Jeremy Hunt, and talking about his sanctions? And the shadow Labour Work and Pension Secretary, I'm not even sure who that is at the moment. But if they go down that line, then I'll think that's disgraceful, because this isn't like the 90s where I think it's a different situation. I've spoke of this generational thing where parties kind of have a turn in power, but there isn't. I don't think there's a need for Keir Starmer's party to lurch well to the right. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn's worldview was so polarising and so awful that moving to the centre left is enough. Labour's leading in the polls, so I don't think that they need to. I don't think they need to take these positions. Now, I appreciate that you can't have a. We do have to have a stable financial services sector, but basically, does Rachel Reeves think bankers don't get enough as it is? To be actively promoting a bonus culture, I have a problem with that. I do have a problem with that, and I do think there should be a cap. I mean, the issue of incentives, that should be. I just don't think there should be this unlimited bonus culture. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I sound like a socialist. So be it. I don't think that there should be an unlimited bonus culture. When there are a lot of people in this country still struggling, they should be Labour's priority, not the City of London. And I don't expect Rachel Reeves to be sort of a red flag carrying anarchist and, speak out against the city, but at least she could take a somewhat neutral stance. To be taking this sort of position of she's now against caps on bonuses, I think that's wrong. I mean, Starmer himself said that it's tone deaf. So will he now conclude that his own Shadow Chancellor is tone deaf? When a lot of people are struggling to get by, that should be Labour's priority, always. Always. That is what the Labour Party was founded on. And I do believe that when it comes to party politics, there has to be clear differences. There has to be, otherwise, what is the point of having different political parties? I must admit, up to this point, I didn't have strong views on Rachel Reeves. I knew that she was sort of a centrist figure, and I thought, well, yeah, that's to be expected. But honestly, I didn't have strong views on her. After this, she's definitely went down in my opinion. It's one thing doing a U-turn, but to have attacked the other party so blatantly, and frankly, I don't particularly like Jeremy Hunt, but he'd be within his rights to call out her hypocrisy and say, well, wait a second, the Shadow Chancellor was attacking me last year for this, and now she's doing exactly the same thing. So, and I'm not a fan of Hunt. I've been very critical of Hunt recently for his rhetoric about the unemployed and his false narratives about what's happening in the welfare system. For example, he has said that we're going to get tougher on the unemployed. He's negating to mention there's already a tough sanction culture. It just feels like once again you have a political party that's pandering to the rich and powerful. And like I said, I'm no socialist. I'm not saying, burn down the banks or something like that. But I don't want to see the Labour Party pandering to them. I don't want to see that. I don't think that is what they should be doing. And to see the Shadow Chancellor taking this position, it's wrong. Even if she was to say, okay, well, we're going to raise the cap or something, but to say there should be, to imply that there should be no cap, it's just, I have a big problem with that. Is it enough to put me off voting Labour? Not quite, but it certainly doesn't help in terms of trust in politics, because it looks like she lacks conviction. It looks like she'll say one thing, let's bash the Tories to be populist, but then just a few months later she changes her tune. But this isn't like something's happened in the last few months. She's talking about the cap was brought in after the recession. Well, the recession was the global financial crisis. It was over a decade ago. It's not like something's happened in the last few months, because, like I say, sometimes U-turns are unavoidable. This isn't unavoidable. This just shows Reeves as a cynical opportunist. Like, she's just attacking the Tories when it's convenient, but then taking this position when it's ostensibly convenient. I think she needs to explain her hypocrisy. It's not good enough to say, this is why I'm doing this now. Well, why did you attack the Tories? And frankly, I think Hunt would be in his rights to call her out on that. Again, I'm not a fan of Hunt, so it's just politics, and this is the sort of thing that puts people off. Really. Let me know your thoughts.